It was the first whisper of twilight when Arlen realized he was not alone in his dreams. The moon hung low, casting a silvery sheen over the familiar landscape of his village. Tonight, however, the village looked different. Mist clung to the cobbled streets like a living thing. Shadows flickered strangely as if the houses themselves breathed with silent anticipation. As an artist, Arlen's nights were often filled with color and form that teased the edges of reality. But this was no ordinary dream. He brushed his fingers against the mist and felt the icy shock of magic, something real in this imagined world, pulling him deeper. "Arlen," came a voice as soft as moonlight, as impossible as the dream itself. Heart racing, he turned to see Amaris, a fey creature with hair cascading like starlight. Her eyes shimmered with the ageless wisdom of the otherworldly. "Who are you?" Arlen asked, struggling to find his voice. "I am Amaris," she replied, her voice a song of night winds. "And you are the one who dreams the doorway open to Luminra." "Luminra?" Arlen echoed, skepticism and curiosity warring in his tone. "Why me?" Amaris studied him, her gaze unclouded by doubt. "Because your dreams are filled with potential not yet realized. Luminra is a realm at risk, its edges darkening with a threat not even dreams can contain alone." Arlen's world spun, the dreamscape shifting like watercolor beneath a sudden rain. The air became thick with the scent of possibilities. Despite the surreal circumstance, a thrill ran through him. This was a calling unlike any he'd imagined. "Will you join me, Arlen?" Amaris's eyes pleaded, her hand extended like a bridge between worlds. Arlen hesitated for only a moment, then took her hand, feeling the warmth of a shared purpose flowing through him. "I will," he whispered, not fully understanding the weight of his choice, but driven by the need to find out more about the whispers in his dreams. Together they stepped further into the mist, toward the unknown heart of Luminra, where their journey had just begun. Arlen followed Amaris through the mystical fog, feeling each step like a brushstroke on an unseen canvas. He marveled at how incredibly real everything felt. Here the air pulsed with energy as if the dream itself were alive. The mists began to part, revealing a forest that seemed to glow with its own light. Trees towered like sentinels, their leaves luminescent, casting vibrant blues and greens across the path. Everything here hummed with a silent music that only dreams could compose. "This place," Arlen murmured, "it's beautiful, but it's fragile, isn't it?" Amaris nodded, her gaze darkening slightly. Luminra feeds on dreams, thrives on imagination. Without them, its light fades, giving way to shadows that hunger for the empty spaces left behind. Their path led them to a clearing where the ground shimmered like stars caught in dew. At its center stood an ancient tree, mighty and gnarled, with runes carved into its bark. The language was strange to Arlen, but it resonated deep within his soul. "This is the Heartwood," Amaris explained. "It's one of the anchors that hold our realms connected. What happens if it fails? All of Luminra would be lost to darkness, and with it, the dreams of your world." The weight of her words settled on Arlen. Reality, his reality, hinged on the balance of dreams. He couldn't let that balance tip. Amaris reached out, her fingers brushing the runes. As she did, the tree responded, its bark glowing gently, whispering words into the wind that only she seemed to understand. Arlen watched intently. "Can you hear what it's saying?" "It's a warning," she said, her voice laced with concern. "Something stirs in the depths beyond dreams, a force that seeks to unravel all we've woven. We must find it." The urgency in her voice spurred Arlen forward. "Then we better get started. Show me what to do." With a nod, Amaris gestured for him to follow, leading him further along the spiraling path that hugged the Heartwood. Every step took them deeper into the living tapestry of Luminra, where magic whispered as vividly as color on canvas. They stepped delicately, the path turning beneath the starry foliage, leading them toward their first real confrontation with the encroaching darkness, threatening both their worlds. The path twisted like a ribbon through the glowing forest, leading Arlen and Amaris toward a deeper darkness. The air grew cooler, and the sounds of the forest shifted to a quieter, more secretive murmur. Here, where the light dimmed, shadows slithered beneath the gleaming foliage. "Is it supposed to be this dark?" Arlen asked, peering uneasily into the gloom. "No," Amaris replied, her voice hushed. "The darkness is spreading faster than I feared. We must find the source before the light is extinguished, and Luminra collapses into shadow." Arlen tightened his grip on his sketchbook, feeling the comforting weight of it against his side. Drawing always helped him focus, and in this realm, imagination had power. He glanced around, eyes settling on the forms emerging from the gloom. Creatures, not fully of shadow and not fully of light, appeared, their shapes twisting unnaturally. They were distortions of the dreamscape, born of the encroaching darkness. They whispered in tones that clawed at the mind, seeking entry. "These are lurkers," Amaris explained, a hint of fear in her eyes. "They thrive on despair and doubt, weakening the barrier between dreams and reality." Arlen's heart pounded as the lurkers approached, their whispers strangely compelling. For a brief moment, his hand twitched toward his sketchbook, but he stopped himself. The art born of fear could become its own prison, something he needed to avoid. "Amaris," he called, voice steadying with resolve. "I need to focus. Cover me." Trusting her instinct, she nodded, sweeping her hands in an intricate pattern that created a shimmering web of light around them both. It pushed back the shadows, offering a momentary reprieve. Arlen flipped open his sketchbook, charcoal in hand. His strokes were bold, decisive, crafting a scene from his imagination where light triumphed over dark. The image sprang to life from the page, rising in defiance against the encroaching shadows. The lurkers hesitated, confused by the sudden burst of creation. They wavered, caught between the dark hunger and the bright vision Arlen had woven. "They're retreating!" Amaris exclaimed, her eyes wide with relief. "Not fully," Arlen managed, watching as they circled back, driven by the underlying threat still lurking in the distance. But they had a foothold, a chance to push forward and deeper, and with that, a sliver of hope. Strengthened by Arlen's resolve, they pressed on, guided by the light of dreams, chasing the shadows back into the corners of this world, determined to find and confront the heart of the darkness. Venturing deeper into the heart of Luminra, Arlen and Amaris moved with a shared purpose, their bonds strengthening with each challenge faced. The air above shimmered with streams of ethereal light, yet the ground beneath felt colder, more uncertain, as if the world itself held its breath. "This realm? It feels as if it's waiting for something," Arlen observed, his artist's eyes catching shifts in the landscape only the heart would notice. Amaris nodded, her expression serious. "Luminra is indeed waiting, for someone with the power to change its fate. It knows you, Arlen." The path led them to a vast clearing where the crystalline towers of a skybound city rose into the luminescent twilight. Spires caught whispers of reflected light, casting kaleidoscopic rainbows into the spaces between shadows. Here the dream crested into reality, filled with beings spun from the threads of imagination, the luminaries. These ethereal entities took form as guardians of Luminra's heart, attending to the city's grandeur and safeguarding its hope. A luminary approached them, its presence both calming and commanding. "Strangers in Luminra," it intoned, voice resonating like the chime of distant bells, "we sense the echo of darkness upon you. How fares your quest along paths unseen?" Before Arlen could respond, Amaris stepped forward, confident and respectful. "We travel to lift the shadows, to renew the bond between our worlds," she explained, gesturing to Arlen. "This is the dreamer. He paints both the path and the promise." Intrigued, the luminary regarded Arlen with a gaze that felt like a constellation of stars. The dreamer awakened. "Much rests upon your shoulders, young artist." It bowed slightly, offering a translucent crystal glowing with internal light. "What is this?" Arlen asked, turning the crystal over in his palm. Its surface seemed to hold the cosmos, swirling and endless, a fragment of Luminra's heart. "It shall guide you through the shadows, lighting truth where deception seeks to prevail," the luminary replied. "Yet remember, light is only as strong as the bearer." Encouraged by this newfound connection to Luminra, Arlen and Amaris took another step together, glowing crystal in hand, hearts set on their quest. The city watched silently, its ancient wisdom a canvas of stars. As they left the crystalline city behind, the terrain changed subtly, wary of their resolve. But Arlen felt the weight of the fragment and knew with increasing certainty that this path was meant for him. The journey pressed on, their destination drifting close and whispering with dreams, not just of Luminra, but his own world too. The path beyond the crystalline city unfurled like a ribbon of shadow and light, twisting through ancient forests of whispering trees. Each step Arlen and Amaris took seemed to draw them deeper into the heart of mystery, where the fabric of dream and reality wove ever tighter. "Do you feel it?" Arlen asked, clutching the crystal fragment as it pulsed in his hand. His senses tingled with every heartbeat of light it emitted. Amaris nodded, her eyes scanning the growing twilight. "The closer we get, the more you'll see the truth revealed. Luminra's heart reaches outward, sensing the darkness." Arlen watched a luminous butterfly drift by as a canvas of stardust and imagination. It hovered, beckoning them onwards before flitting ahead into the shadows. At the edge of the trees lay the shifting meadow, a place where the boundary between dreams blurred until perception alone defined reality. Here, landscapes changed with each heartbeat, from fields of silver blossoms to cascades of sapphire streams. Arlen marveled at the sight, his artist's heart drinking in the inspiration that pulsed vibrantly all around. Yet a question tugged at his thoughts. "Amaris, what did the luminary mean when they said light is only as strong as the bearer?" he asked, tentative, seeking understanding. She paused, her gaze meeting his, sincere and steady. "It means that Luminra reflects the strength of your conviction. The light within the heart can only thrive when your own courage and belief burn brightly." The gravity of her words settled over him, and his grip tightened around the crystal. This journey demanded more than art. It sought spirit and resilience. "Then we must keep moving," Arlen decided, a newfound determination shifting through him like the wind. As they ventured further, the meadow shifted once more, now presenting a vast expanse where shadows coiled and uncoiled like living creatures. It was here the lurkers gathered, drawn to places where dreams faltered and fears lingered. Arlen felt a chill creep over him, the darkness reaching, tugging at the edges of his resolve. But instead of fear, he embraced the light. The crystal pulsed with a radiant warmth, a beacon that cut through the shadows' grasping fingers. "Remember, Arlen," Amaris called, her voice clear against the encroaching gloom, "light your path from within." Nodding, he focused, the pulse of the crystal beating in tandem with his heart. With each step, the shadows shrank, retreating from the brilliance born not just from Luminra's heart, but his own. Together, they forged ahead, their combined light carving a path through the darkness, knowing that the answers waited not far beyond the whispering boundaries of the shifting meadow. The shifting meadow extended endlessly, a breathtaking tapestry woven from the dreams of those who dared to traverse Luminra's mysterious paths. Arlen and Amaris moved through the illusions with growing confidence, their steps unwavering as their bond deepened through shared purpose. In the distance, a silhouette emerged through the haze, an imposing figure cloaked in shadows that seemed to absorb the surrounding light. This was a guardian, a relic of old dreams, left to watch over the gateways between realms. Amaris signaled Arlen to pause, her eyes narrowing as she studied the guardian. "Be cautious," she whispered. "These keepers test all who wish to pass. Their riddles are as fluid as the dreams they protect." Arlen swallowed, his grip firm on the crystal. Confidence mingled with unease as they approached. The guardian's eyes glowed with an inner ember, fixing on them with a piercing stare. Its voice was the rumble of mountains shifting, timeless and resonant. "Dreamer and Fae," it began, its body shifting subtly in the twilight. "Speak your purpose in this realm of whispered wonders." Arlen stepped forward, emboldened by the warmth of the crystal. "We seek the source of darkness threatening Luminra," he declared, "to restore both worlds to their rightful paths." The air trembled with the guardian's silent contemplation. Then it spoke again, its tone a rhythmic melody. "To move past, solve this fait accompli. What can you hold in your left hand that you cannot in your right?" A riddle, the key to passage. Arlen closed his eyes, letting his thoughts careen through possibilities. His mind conjured visions of form and function, possibilities manifest. "It's your right hand," he said, opening his eyes. The words felt right, fitting perfectly into the riddle's framework, like a piece of a puzzle. The guardian chuckled, a sound like rolling stones mellowed by time. "You possess clarity of sight, young dreamer. May it light your journey beyond." With that, the shadows parted like a curtain, revealing a path edged by glowing runes guiding them through the meadow. Arlen and Amaris exchanged relieved smiles, thankful that trust and reason had guided them true. As they continued, the meadow shifted once more, revealing a vast ocean of shifting stars. The path morphed into a bridge of rippling moonlight, stretching across the sea of illusory constellations. With each step, the light beneath their feet danced, a promise of the strengthening connection between Arlen and Luminra. Yet, the whispers of the looming threat remained, growing louder with every stride towards destiny. Their journey forged on, the twilight now infused with the echoes of both hope and urgency. The shadows might loom, but so too did the burgeoning light of dreams. The bridge of moonlight led them over the ocean of imagined constellations, its shimmering surface weaving a gentle glissando beneath their feet. Arlen and Amaris advanced with a collective pulse, each heartbeat synchronizing with the star's distant glow. As they descended from the ethereal arc, they entered a valley caressed by tendrils of fog, swirling between towering, crystalline formations. Light refracted in dazzling patterns, but the atmosphere was dense with an unseen weight, a tension born of the coming storm. "We are nearing the core of the darkness," Amaris murmured, her voice hardly daring to break the stillness. "Here dreams confront their deepest shadows." Arlen's eyes were drawn to the patterns, an artist's mind searching within them for meaning and expression. Behind the beauty, he could feel a dissonant hum threading through the tapestry, a discord seeking to unravel the order. Before them, a grove of silvery trees emerged, the Silverglade, a bastion of dreams woven from hope and respite. Ancient though they were, these trees quivered, leaves rattling softly, burdened by the approaching night. At the heart of the grove stood a pool, its surface rippling with visions, flickering images from countless dreams, glimpses of worlds waiting to be realized. Yet shadows skimmed its edges, whispers louder, more sinister. "This place, it's the Dream's Well," Amaris finished, her eyes reflecting its liquid glow. "It's where dreams are born and sometimes where they fade. Watch closely, for truth lies at its heart." Arlen approached, his reflection wavering in the water, now interlaced with shadow. Tendrils of darkness crawled the vision's edge, consuming vibrant colors with silencing monotony. Suddenly a shape rose from the depths, a dark specter born of fear and doubt. It loomed over the pool, a silhouette with hollow eyes that bore through hope to reflect the naked vulnerability within. "Who dares disrupt the weave?" it intoned, voice a tremor in reality itself. Arlen stepped forward, no longer ignoring the tremor within. "I am the dreamer. I see you, darkness, and I am not afraid." The specter wavered, a ripple of shifting realities. But ancient was its malice, and it recoiled, snarling in denial. Yet Arlen's defiance held strong, bolstered by the light he carried, tempered by the strength he now embraced. Amaris joined, her presence an anchor, her voice a balm. "Light cannot exist without shadow," she spoke, resonant and true, "but it can illuminate the dark." The spectral form hissed, its hostility fractured by the growing luminescence. Together they shone brighter, forcing the shadows to recede, though the underlying threat remained unchanged. Their path was clear: draw closer to vanquish the heart of darkness. Their journey continued beyond the grove as dreams and reality interwove, each step aligning them with Luminra's destiny, a crescendo ascending toward the ultimate confrontation. Leaving the Silverglade behind, Arlen and Amaris moved forward with renewed determination. The confrontation at the Dream's Well had emboldened them both, but it also revealed how much more lay ahead before the darkness could truly be conquered. The landscape changed around them, the dream imagery shifting into a terrain marked by jagged peaks and valleys swathed in mist. Above, the sky churned with swirling clouds, casting an eerie light down onto the path. "Where are we heading now?" Arlen inquired, his voice cutting through the silence like a brushstroke on a blank canvas. "Towards the pinnacle of echoes," Amaris replied, pointing to a towering peak in the distance. "It is where the origin of the darkness lies. When we reach it, we will confront the source together." In the shadows of the mountain, they came across an ancient threshold, guarded by massive stone sentinels, whose surfaces were etched with the stories of forgotten dreams. As they passed between the colossal figures, a haunting melody resonated through the air. The path narrowed, and they found themselves enclosed within a cavernous expanse, glinted with shards of crystal. The walls vibrated with the remnants of countless echoes, the lost voices of dreamers from eons past, as if the mountain itself was alive. A voice began to rise above the cacophony, distinct yet interwoven with the others. "Dreamer, you seek to unravel what you do not fully understand," it boomed, reverberating off the crystalline walls. Arlen halted, heart thundering. "I seek to bring light to darkness," he called back, his voice filled with conviction burning bright. "You would challenge the foundation upon which this world and yours rest?" The voice continued, skeptical yet oddly compelling. Amaris stepped beside Arlen, her presence at once constant and comforting. "Both realms depend on the balance, and darkness threatens that balance. Hearts of light and shadows of darkness woven together, neither can thrive without the other's resilience." The echoes swirled tighter around them, the invisible force grappling with their truth. A deep rumbling shook the cavern, and the crystalline shards began to pulse as if possessing a heartbeat of their own. Then, without warning, the echoes subdued, their hostility transformed into guidance. Light burst forth from the crystal like a wave, a path illuminated through the shadows, guiding them towards the heart of the pinnacle. Arlen breathed deeply, feeling the weight of every dream and the hope entwined within them, a light on his shoulders. There was fear, yes, but also a fierce resolve within him, and beside him, Amaris stood, an unwavering ally. They continued upward, united, determined to confront the source of the darkness, where the dream and reality intertwined at the pinnacle of echoes, the ultimate tapestry where Luminra's fate awaited them. Reaching the pinnacle of echoes felt like stepping into the eye of a storm. Around them, the ethereal glow of the crystalline cavern gave way to a tempest of shadows swirling in opposition. Beyond lay the heart of darkness, a vortex of inky black spinning within the mountain's core, pulsing with malevolence. Arlen and Amaris stood at the edge, the darkness pulling at their senses, whispering of despair and futility. But the light within them persisted, a steady flame against the engulfing storm. "What do we do now?" Arlen asked, his voice resolute but tinged with uncertainty. Amaris turned to him, her eyes reflecting the swirling chaos. "We face it, Arlen. This is the source, the abyssal rift, where shadows are born from lost dreams." Arlen nodded, feeling the weight of his choice, his journey. The crystal fragment from the luminary grew warm in his hand, lending him strength and clarity. He knew that to restore balance, they must change the nature of this place, this dark nexus feeding on fear and forgotten hopes. "Hold fast to your light," Amaris instructed, her hand reaching for his, solid and grounding. "Together we can weave a new thread into the fabric of both worlds." As they stepped closer, the shadows surged with a roar of protest, forming figures wrought from nightmares, beings that taunted and lured with visions of despair. They were echoes of fears and doubts, the quintessential adversaries of the dreamer. But Arlen stood firm, heart steeled with determination. He lifted the crystal high, feeling its heat seep into his veins, mixing with the courage Amaris had inspired. Chasing the shadows from his mind, he let his instincts take hold. Images from his dreams flowed through his mind, scenes painted with light and color. He envisioned Luminra and his own world, whole and renewed, burgeoning with dreams yet to shape reality. The crystal pulsed, projecting his vision like a beacon, casting radiant patterns across the darkness, a new tapestry spun from the loom of their resolve. Beside him, Amaris added her voice, song and spell woven together in harmony. The air vibrated with their symphony, reaching the very core of the rift, illuminating truth within the festering lies. Then, as if breaching an unseen barrier, light exploded from the collaboration of dream and fey, rushing into the shadows, overtaking them. The darkness shivered, recoiling from the onslaught of hope and color and brilliance, began to unravel. The abyssal rift, stripped of its hold, began to close. The pathway they carved, united with belief and strength, settled into place, reinforcing the bond between realms. Amidst the returning stillness, Arlen and Amaris stood breathless and triumphant on the precipice of their shared victory. Yet as the light settled in earnest, they knew their journey wasn't quite over. One final step remained in solidifying the new balance between dream and reality. With the abyssal rift closed and the shadows banished, a serene silence enveloped the pinnacle of echoes. Arlen and Amaris lingered at the heart of this once dark nexus, feeling the resonance of their achievement pulsating through the very air. But the journey of healing was not yet complete. To ensure the restored balance endured, the boundaries between Luminra and Arlen's world required one final act of unity. "Are you ready?" Amaris asked, her voice gentle yet resolute. The close of their shared quest lay within their grasp, its significance woven into their intertwined fates. Arlen nodded, his chest swelling with newfound confidence. "We've come this far, let's finish it together." Drawing from the crystal, Arlen and Amaris stood side by side, focusing on the thread that connected their worlds. In that liminal space, they envisioned a bridge, one of dreams and possibilities, a melding of realities born from imagination's limitless reach. Arlen conjured images from his art, visions spun from hope and wonder, layered with Luminra's mystical essence. His brushstrokes turned tangible, streaks of light painting across the air, forming an arch that spanned both realms. Amaris echoed his creation, her fey magic harmonizing with his vision, drawing strength from the ancient echoes that lined the pinnacle. Her voice carried across the air in a melody of binding, each note locking the dream thread into place. The arch glowed with vitality, pulsating between worlds, shimmering with the brilliance of what they had forged. "Pin the light to the Daydreamer's meadow," Amaris prompted, guiding Arlen's hand towards the swirling conduit. Breath held in anticipation, Arlen placed the crystal fragment at the arch's apex. It fit flawlessly, a keystone binding the worlds together in perpetual harmony. At the crystal's touch, the bridge solidified, casting a warm, comforting glow that wrapped around them. Luminra responded, a shimmering wave of light radiating outward, as if acknowledging their shared promise. As the final echoes of the union settled, reality itself shifted, aligning to their vision of a world remade. The shadows would no longer hold sway over the dreams that flowed between their worlds. Exhaling deeply, Arlen turned to Amaris, gratitude and wonder reflecting in his eyes. "We did it! We've truly woven something magnificent." Amaris smiled, her eyes alight with enduring pride. "Together we have ensured that Luminra and your realm remain forever connected, safeguarding dreams within the tapestry of life itself." At that moment, Arlen understood the true power that lay in his dreams, the binding ties between imagination and reality. This journey, with all its trials and revelations, had forever changed him. As they stepped back into the light of new beginnings, Arlen and Amaris knew that while darkness could never be fully extinguished, the luminous promise within each dream could light the way for all who dared to dream.